Good morning or good afternoon. Can you hear me? I just want to make sure my mic's working. I have been working with neutral palettes recently because I wanted to restrict my color palette, and that really brings out different things like composition value and things that I tend not to focus on when I'm working with a lot of color. So here's a few things I've been working on. Actually, a bunch of things I've been working on. Let me run these through. This is on a canvasette paper. You can kind of see the texture on there, and this is an interesting material to work on. But here's some with the neutral colors that and I'll show you, I'll give you a demo later. But this is on the canvasette paper, and here's also on canvasette paper. I wouldn't say these are finished exactly, but I'm just experimenting with blacks, browns, ochres. Feel free to say hi, and also let me know if you can hear me. I just want to make sure that my mic is working. Here's another one. These are fun. I actually was using this cardboard tube that was, I can't remember what was on here, but this makes great circles. And a bunch of sketchbook work here. Let me take you through some of these. This is the one that I like to warm up in. This is this math book that I found in a lending library. And this is a great book because it's really nice to just go in here and mess around without having that feeling of having to get things look perfect, because this paper is so flimsy and cheap that I feel really loose and we'll do a warm up in here today. So this is me trying to get a little bit neutral here. Here's a little bit more neutral. And it can be as ugly as I want it to. So that's always fun. And then here's a little bit nice. Oh, let's go like medium quality to nice. This book is really thin sketch paper. It's not high quality paper at all, but I enjoy working in this one. This one is sort of my neutral palette I've been working on. And another, so I've been using blues. Here's really neutral. And a little bit nicer sketchbook. This is my square format one. And this has really nice thick paper in it. These are a little bit more colorful ones, but here's where I'm starting to try to get a little bit more neutral palette. And I've started using this stamping material where I just carve in and make interesting textures, and then I will stamp onto my artwork, and I've been loving that. Here's one I just started. I haven't finished it. Maybe we can finish it today. Here's this really neutral palette right here, and this is using some of the colors that I'll be using today. Just really restricted color palette. Here's a little book that I work in, and last night I did this. I just sat here for a couple hours and practiced. Here's some of the pieces I've been working on in here. I think I've given this a tour occasionally. I really like the way this one turned out. And then, yeah, some bright colors, but here at the end, here's where I'm trying to get, let's see, I guess I've been putting a lot of stuff in here. Here, yes, last night I worked on this. This was using, you know, blues, but still trying to keep it pretty neutral. This right here is this toe separator that, let's see if I can find it. Oh yeah, here it is. These are those things that you put in between your toes when you're doing your nails, when you're getting a pedicure. And I just love the stamp on that. Here's a Grumpucker mixed media sketchbook, and this paper is really nice. But see, bright colors, a lot of bright colors here. And what I'm trying to do is a little something more like this so that I can focus on my, you know, value and composition. And I think that's really important to focus on. And last but not least, this gorgeous sketchbook. This is a, I think it's Fabriano. Yeah, it's a Fabriano, and it's beautiful cover. It's beautiful paper, and I love the way that paint goes on this paper. This is one of the neutral ones that I worked on the other day. And this one I worked on last night. Couldn't help but bring in some of that bright yellow. And so without further ado, let me get started. So what I'm doing is using this palette here, and this is, let me put some black on there. And I'm using the Nova paints in these tubes. It's really convenient for me. But I'm using black. This is actually black gesso. This isn't the Nova one, but I use burnt sienna, the Nova burnt sienna. And I'm also using this Titan Buff, which is the golden. I love this stuff. This is that, and I use it all the time. And I'm also using ultramarine blue, raw umber, this is cadmium yellow light, I think, and a white. And I have a bunch of tools off to the side here. I'm gonna wear a glove because I'm using these oil sticks that I'm trying out here. They're really cool. They're Paul Rubens, and basically I just got there's a couple different sets. I got the portrait set, so they're much more neutral colors. For instance, there's this white, I love that. There's black, I love this color. I don't know what it's called, but it's kind of like a cappuccino color. And yeah, so I'll be using some of those, and I like to blend them with my finger, which is why I'm gonna wear a glove, but we'll experiment with that. And the great thing about oil sticks is I like to mix it with my acrylics because this resists the water, and I think it's a really interesting effect. And not a lot of people like that, but I really do. So I'm gonna work between a few different things at a time, because usually I have a hairdryer with me and it's gonna be too loud in a live session. So let's just start. I like to start with a little grid. And this is just a sort of waxy crayon that's also water soluble. So check this out, it's really nice. And I can actually get my background color by just wetting this grid with the pencil, and I'll just let that absorb into this watercolor paper. The great thing about water-soluble stuff is that when your paper is wet, I love to just drag, like this Stabilo, I like to drag it through the wet. I even use a spray, which I have here, is to just keep like a little water in this Trader Joe's facial toner bottle that used to have rose water in it. So this is just a really nice way to warm up in the morning, especially before your brain is online. It's very meditative. Let me bring in some of this oil pastel. I wish there was a gray in here, but it's supposed to be skin tones, so I guess unless you're really sick, there's no gray skin tone. This is a raw umber, and I'm just gonna lay some of this down. Put a little shape in here. It's fun because it's so chunky. And this is why I'm wearing gloves. A glove. Sometimes it's nice to keep this rough crayon-y look, and I can make it smooth. These blend really nicely. I can make it smooth like this, or I can keep it rough, and I think I'm going to do that there. And interesting because you can just drag scrapey tools through this, which is really great. You can even smooth it out a little bit if you don't like it. And then the interesting thing about this oil is the resist. So let me grab one of my favorite brushes. This is like a calligraphy brush. And I'm gonna get my brush really wet and run a little watery paint over it. So when I do that, you'll see it resists. And I love that look. I think it's beautiful. Another thing I've been trying to do while I'm painting is put some paint down and just leave it. Don't fuss too much over it. Just having a light touch is important. Let's see, I also like to use this toothbrush, and I'm just putting some black and ultramarine on here. Let's see. See how the wet paint resists on the oil, or the oil resists the paint? I think it's a really interesting texture that you get. Because a lot of people say not to mix oil and water, but of course, we're not following any rules with abstract painting here. Again, just a light touch. And you can see that there's a little fluorescent pink at the bottom from something else that I was working on, which I actually like. And this is nice, but maybe I want a little pop of color, so I'm going to go into my chalks and just grab this orange. I think it'll be a nice complement. Just a little orange here and there. This chalk does not work on the oil though. Just drag it through like so. Okay, let me leave that and start another one. Actually, what I have is, I started this is the canvas set paper. I'll try to have it listed in the description below, but I put a ground down and I basically took the leftover paint that's on my paint palette when I was done, and I just smacked it down on there, and then that's what you're seeing here, which I think is really beautiful. So now I have kind of something to work with, and let's add to this. So I'm mixing some raw umber black and ultramarine, and it looks like I'm going with the green there, so I'm going to add a little yellow to it. Here, I'll show you what I'm doing here. Basically, add a little yellow. It's an interesting green. Let's use one of these stamps. So these are the stamps material that I've been using, and I carve it myself. And just slap the paint on here like so. I'm gonna have to get a little more. Oh, this is a really nice effect. Watch this. I've actually never tried this on the canvas set, only on regular paper, but we'll see if this works. Yeah, that works. I've got this color shaper. I don't know why they call it a color shaper, but it's really nice. And you know what's nice to do is just kind of get little spritz on there. Oh, that looks, I kind of like the way that turned out, just like that. And the water helps spread it across the page here, like that. Another thing I like to use is this corrugated cardboard piece. I've used this one so much that it's just covered in paint, but it's really interesting effect to, let's see, I'll just take some white and brush it on this corrugated cardboard chunk that I have. And just slap it like this. Let's do it at an angle. That adds a lot of nice texture. Really interesting. have so many fun things over here. Oh, you know, another thing that I'm really loving is I've been taking boxes and I'm going to mix a little color, and then what I do is I paint on the edge. So I can get a really nice, you'll see, nice square lines like that. And I love those. I love the combination of organic shapes and textures and then really like rigid line forms like that. I'm gonna dedicate this episode to David Lynch, who passed away recently. And I've always been a huge fan of David Lynch, and I hope that that comes out in my work. Kind of a little bit of weird. I like a little bit of weirdness. I've always loved David Lynch, and the first David Lynch film I saw was Eraserhead. And if you haven't seen Eraserhead, don't. If you don't like David Lynch, you probably won't like it. But if you like weird, then I would say go for it. I think I need some more solid blocks of, like, it's getting a little busy. So I'm gonna, maybe I'll take this oil stick and see if I can just do that. This color is really weird and interesting. I like it. It's like a coffee color. And obviously, if the paper's wet, it doesn't really adhere. But I can get a nice solid texture. And here's like a Titan, a buff color, which I really like. These are fun. You can sort of drag them through for nice line work. And you can also blend the colors. Get a rough blend in there, which I always like. The white one is probably my favorite. I use it all the time. So, let's see, let's turn this. So these oil sticks, oh man, I love them. And these oil sticks are not like, I've used some oil sticks, they take forever to dry, but these ones, these Paul Rubens ones, they dry in no time. Look how fun that is. Look at that. Okay, and then I also got a bunch of dental tools from Amazon, and they're really fun to just scratch through here. Write David's name backwards in there, Lynch. I keep a lot of my scrapey tools in this porcelain jar that I made in pottery class. And you'd think porcelain would be very delicate, but I've dropped this thing like 5 times on the floor where my heart's in my throat, and it never breaks. So, knock on wood. But I like to keep my tools in here. It's like really well balanced. see, how about we bring in some of the burnt sienna. I'm just gonna put burnt sienna just straight on here. I'm gonna get kind of brave. Bringing it over the white oil, and that'll be interesting when it dries because you can still kind of scrape through it. I'm liking this piece. This is really interesting. Let's let that dry. And I'm going to go back to the other piece that I was working on in the sketchbook. Let's see. This brush is a Princeton Catalyst brush, and I just recently, even though I've had this brush for a long time, I recently discovered it because it is amazing. It holds so much paint, and you can tell because it's hard to wash out, but it's a really great, really high quality brush. I actually like really bad quality brushes like these. These are like for kids, but I also love high quality ones too, and they just lay down the paint differently. I don't know how to explain it, but I'm gonna push some of the darks here like that. I don't know, have some things go off your page for that continuation. Just do a little here. I did not bring any ochre up here, but yellow ochre is pretty easy to make. So to make yellow ochre, you can take cadmium yellow or cadmium yellow light, raw umber, just a titch, I'm using some of this Titan Buff just to calm it down a little bit of that. And maybe some of this burnt sienna as well, because ochre has a little bit of yellow or like coppery color in it. That's getting really close. There we go. Maybe a little black, just to calm it down even more. Okay. So yellow ochre might be a nice contrast in here. I don't know, let's see. Just a little bit. And instead of putting that same yellow ochre down, I'm gonna mix a little bit of other color. I'm gonna make it a little darker for the next application on my piece, just so it's not exactly the same. So if I put some more yellow ochre on here, it's not like I'm freshening it up. I'm like not copying. This is a catalyst tool as well. It's like a crenellated edge. You know what would be nice is a little line work through here. Maybe I'll use the chalk. It might not be dry enough. Oh yeah, there we go. I think this is always a nice addition to a painting, some line work. It's going to be hard to do because it's wet. Like I said, normally I'll have a hairdryer on hand so I can work a little faster, but that's fun. I keep the Dig Off fixative in this little spray bottle so that I can spray it on my chalks. Great. And let's come back to this piece. I think I could bring some of that yellow ochre in. This is the oil paint, the oil stick, and then there's acrylic over it, and it's like I'm rubbing it off, and it's a really interesting effect. Beautiful. Oh, let me show you this guy. This is a tube. I can't remember what I got it from, but I just dip it in some paint. Let's use some blue. Let's get like a little contrast color here. Okay, so let's see here. I really like the way that blue is contrasting with the burnt sienna. I think it's really beautiful. It just pops. I said pops, yes. Try not to say that. Try not to say that in the art biz. Try not to say it pops because it's just overused. Okay. think we're getting really close on this piece. And yeah, and so I'm going to wrap it up. I'm just going to review what I've been using. The only thing I didn't use today, I might just add a little bit of, here's these tempera paint sticks. These are kids tools, but I really like these. Let's see if I can get it to, yeah, they're just gorgeous, especially over the white like that. They're great for layering, and they're water soluble. So yeah, these are fun. Okay, so I have been using the Paul Rubens oil pastels, and these are the chunky kind. They come in all different colors, but this is the portrait version. I've been using just a bunch of chalks. Some of them are water soluble, some of them are not. I also have a bunch of pens in here. I didn't really use those, but I've got my Woody Stabilo. That's water soluble. Just a bunch of different stamping and stencil materials, variety of brushes, and of course the neutral colored paints. And yeah, go out and have fun. I really enjoy restricting my palette like this, and would love to see some of the stuff that you come up with as well. Have a great day.